I'm Mandy O, this is Grow Make Cook, and welcome to my garden. This is the first bit of sunshine that we have had in the garden for over 2 weeks, and I'm really glad it's here. But what that miserable weather and the cold temperatures, unusually cold for May temperatures, have meant is that there are a lot of things that just haven't gotten going in the garden. We've had so much wet, so much slugs, and because we haven't built our greenhouse yet, I've had nowhere to protect all my baby seedlings. So we have had an enormous amount of things that have just been rotting off and dying and getting flooded and, just getting eaten by slugs. So what we need to do now that the weather is forecast to start warming up a little bit, we've got temperatures that are finally back up consistently in double digits. So when the warm weather really starts to get going, we can start re-sowing things like zucchinis and parsley and this, which I'm just watering in, which is my Pak Choi. It's a lovely Asian green, and I'm hoping that this year it'll actually do something for me. I've popped it in here next to my lettuces and the radishes that I've been letting to go over. Now, all of these radishes are going to be too hard and woody. It'll all just be stem inside now. So you can't eat them anymore, and we ate lots of them over winter anyway. But I've left probably about a third of them in the ground so that they can go over into these beautiful little white, completely edible flowers that in fact are just a magnet for the bees and the insects, but they will give us radish seed pods, which are also edible, but more importantly will allow me to save and collect seed so that we can sow radishes again. The only issue I'm really having with these radishes is that they've all collapsed over. It's been so wet and just so much bad windy weather is that they're all just flopping everywhere. So I'm propping them up with just some sticks and twigs and pruned off bits that I've clipped from our trees. And I'm just trying to stop them from leaning over and shading out the entire rest of this garden bed. But short of it being a very wet and floppy part of the garden, these guys are doing wonderfully, and you can see that those seed pods are already starting to form. In fact, that one looks so good. The seed pods like this, while they're still immature, have a lovely mild radishy flavour, and they make a lovely little garden snack. And if I keep eating them all, I'll have none to save for seed. Yum. Through here, I have something very exciting starting to form. In all of this really rainy weather, we have had so many broad beans pop up. The broad bean doesn't really like to dry out, and these guys have gotten a little bit floppy, so I've had to prop them up with sticks and things, but we have got so many broad beans forming, and it's really been probably the one lucky thing that has happened from all this rain, because if you have any shortage of water while the broad beans are forming their beans, then you don't get very good beans. You get very small, not very juicy beans. But these guys, wow, they're fat and they're full and they just look amazing. I can't wait for these guys to finish maturing. We are going to have such a good harvest of broad beans. Oh, it's so exciting. The other thing that's really been going on in my vegetable garden is this. All of my blitva, or silver beet, or Swiss chard, depending on where you're from, is starting to shoot up in this longer spring days well, it's been gloomy and miserable, but now we've got finally some spring sunshine, and they are shooting up to make seed heads. You can still eat all of this while it's making these, but what it means is that we are now going to be reliant upon the little seeds I sowed a couple of months ago, so that we will be getting fresh new leaves, because these guys, last year's blitva, which has kept us over through winter, and we've been eating lots of leafy greens, but all of this, all of my old blitva plants, they're pretty much done. Once they've started making these flower heads, you know that these big shoots up the middle, when they try and make some flowers, mean the end of my blitva season. It will start to get a little bit bitter and less pleasant once it does this. So we'll keep eating it up until these flowers are done, but it looks like the end of the season for us for chard or blitva or silver beet. I simply adore the smell of a freshly opened peony. There's something magical about these little blooms of beauty that pop up in the spring. And we've got ants on the buds, but you shouldn't worry about that, because when the buds are pushing themselves open, they extrude little bits of sweetness that the ants will help open up. So ants on your peonies are just fine, and we don't worry about those. And we can just revel in the happy, bright beauty that these guys bring. But I think that's probably about all we've got time for at the moment. So if you like what we're doing, please like the video. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you want notifications, use the bell icon below. And until next time then, do widzenia.